The other day, my friend bought a new car. He bought a Lincoln. When I got into the car, I was very impressed by the LED display. It really gave the interior of the car a unique, homey feel, and he could change the color with the push of a button. After seeing this, I decided that maybe I should do the same thing to my car. But of course, it didn't come with that feature. I would have to install it myself. So I proceeded to go to the internet and buy the materials necessary to install an LED system in my car. Now here I can show you the results of my installation. I installed LEDs in the grille and the interior of the car, and I could change the color at will. And here are some examples of the grille and color changes for the interior of my car. After doing this, I began to think that someone else might like to do the same thing, so I decided to make this video. The first thing I'm going to do is show you the materials that you will need to accomplish the same thing. Here are some of them. You'll need an LED light strip kit, which you could buy from Amazon for about $18. So it's pretty cheap. It comes with a power supply, which you really won't need. It comes with a remote and of course the controlled for the strips, which are 3 in number. You'll also need some contact cement in order to adhere the strips to the car. You'll need some wire, and the wire must be a 4-conductor wire so that you can connect the light strips to each other in series. And you'll also need some adhesive foam tape, and I'll explain why all this is necessary later on in this video. Now, one of the first things you'll have to do is solder some wire on each end of the 4-conductor wire cable. Now be sure that the wire that you solder onto the end of these conductors fits snugly into the connectors on the LED strips. The purpose of this cable is so that you can connect the 3 LED strips, one across the passenger side, one across the driver's side of the interior compartment, and the third behind the grille of the car. And of course you have to connect them in series with the cable that you've just made. Now you'll probably need 1-2 sections of cable, one of them being long enough to reach the front of the grille and the other one long enough to reach over the console in the back, of course, to the second light strip, which will be on the passenger side. After measuring out the correct lengths of wire, align the soldered wire strips with the LED strip connector and then adhere them in place with the adhesive foam so they can be readily connected to that LED strip. Put another piece of the adhesive foam on the top in order to secure them tightly in position. You'll have to do this with each end of the cable. Now, using contact cement, adhere one of the light strips to the driver's side under the dash and another one to the passenger side under the dash. Connect these two with the short cable that you've prepared. Now fish the long cable that you've made to the front of the car and behind the radiator. Coat the back of the last LED strip with contact cement and connect it to the cable. And fish it down behind the grille. Now, in order to do this, you'll probably have to use a couple of dowels. That's what I did anyway. One of the dowels, I put a piece of the adhesive foam on it so I could control the light strip as I moved it around. The other dowel I used to hold it in place when I pulled away the the dowel that I used for adjustment, thus leaving the strip adhered behind the radiator, behind the grill I should say, not the radiator. After all this has been completed, now you have to hook up the wiring to power up the lights. The kit contains a remote controlled and a remote controlled receiver. That receiver should be connected to the light strip in the driver's compartment, and you could adhere that again under the dash. Now run the wire from the receiver up over behind the console and into the compartment which contains your power supply. The power supply is like the cigarette lighter thing that is in most cars. Obviously they don't use it for cigarette lighters anymore. Now lastly, what you want to do is get a plug that fits into the power supply of the car. Make sure it's one that will deliver 12 volts, not one that delivers, let's say, 5 volts like for a USB port. They can be readily obtained at a auto supply store. Now connect the wires to the remote receiver to the power supply and plug it in. Try to turn on the lights with the remote. If they don't turn on, then you probably have the wrong polarity coming from the power supply output. So you'll have to reverse the wires. After reversing the wires, they should light up perfectly. Now the reason I chose to hook this up using the power supply of the car rather than hooking up the remote receiver directly to the battery is because when you turn off the ignition and the LEDs are hooked up to the battery, they will remain lit even though the ignition has been turned off. However, if you connect it using the power supply port, then when you turn off the ignition, that will turn off the LEDs. You don't have to worry about them being left on all night in case you forget to turn them off manually with the remote. So this is going to be a time-consuming project, but the results I found to be very satisfying. I really like the look of the car. I think it looks great and it looks very unique. So if you'd like to try it, give it a try. If you have any questions, I'll put my email address at the bottom here. You can contact me and I'll try to help you all I can. Good luck.